Hi, welcome back to Mondays on A Cure for Your Postpartum Depression. This week we're looking at chapters 5 through 8. Boy, was there a lot of information covered in here. We're introduced to the key characters and the key places, but I want to focus on the emotional roller coaster that Harry now finds himself on. We open up and it's the morning of Harry's 11th birthday. He doesn't want to open his eyes because he's sure that all that happened the night before is just a wonderful dream, and he's been woken up from wonderful dreams into reality before. He's sure the tapping that he hears is Aunt Petunia knocking on his door, but we discover that it's an owl, and this begins the unimaginable life that Harry is about to experience. The emotional roller coaster begins. One minute Harry feels like he has a balloon swelling up inside of him, and the next minute when he realizes that he doesn't have the money he needs to pay for the school supplies, feels like the air has been all let out of that balloon. And Hagrid says, "What do you think? Your parents left you with nothing?" And Harry finds out a little bit later in that chapter that he's actually rich. As Harry and Hagrid are walking down the London street, Harry begins to wonder if this could all be some big joke that Uncle Vernon's playing on him. He doesn't see any signs of any wizard shops around. But I think that Harry comes to an important understanding here. It says, yet somehow, even though everything Hagrid had told him so far was unbelievable, Harry couldn't stop trusting him. At this point, they arrive at the Leaky Cauldron. Not a very interesting place or inviting place for an 11-year-old boy. I imagine a smoky bar with a few people hanging around, not very interested in the newcomers until they realize that it's Harry Potter. And Hagrid says, "Told you were famous." In Diagon Alley, when Harry's trying on his robe, he meets his first other Hogwarts student, which we find out is Draco Malfoy, who keeps asking him more and more questions, which makes Harry feel dumber and dumber because he doesn't know the answers to most of them, and a lot of them he doesn't even understand the question. How exciting for Harry to go shopping for his first wand. Mr. Ollivander has been expecting him and remembers Harry's parents. I'm sure that stirs a lot of different feelings in Harry, who doesn't remember his own parents, but here has a chance to learn a little bit more about them. Mr. Ollivander tells Harry that the wand chooses the wizard, and the wand that chooses Harry, interestingly, has a phoenix feather in it, and the phoenix that produced that feather only produced one other feather, and that feather is in the wand that gave Harry his scar. Interesting. And Mr. Ollivander says to Harry, "Curious indeed how these things happen. The wand chooses the wizard, remember. I think we must expect great things of you, Mr. Potter." And poor Harry's feeling confused and says to Hagrid, "Everyone thinks I'm special, but I don't know anything about magic at all. How can they expect great things? I'm famous, and I can't even remember what I'm famous for." J.K. Rowling doesn't go into a lot of detail about that last month when Harry had to go back and spend his time with the Dursleys. But can you imagine? I mean, who would want to go back and spend time there? He's had a taste of the wizarding world. He has his wand and his books and his owl. I'd like to have an owl. And yet he has to stay in the Muggle world for a little bit longer. Finally, the day comes for him to take his train to Hogwarts. The Dursleys drop him off and then drive off laughing at him because he says he's supposed to be dropped off at platform 9 3/4. And to them, that doesn't exist. I would imagine Harry was pretty frightened standing there on that platform, not knowing who to ask or where to go, until he overhears another family who's obviously getting ready to leave for Hogwarts too. It turns out to be the Weasleys, and they tell him how to break through to platform 9 3/4, and Harry does it. Yay, Harry! After all the anticipation, can you imagine the excitement of the first years as they arrive at their new school? Of course, that excitement is soon followed by dread when they realize they have to go through some sort of a test to be placed into their houses. I think the unknown can be really scary, especially when you add on the rumors of what other people are saying they need to do to go through the tests, like Ron's brothers who are teasing him. Entering the Great Hall must have been a totally overwhelming experience. Harry was already more nervous than he had ever been in his entire life, and now he has all the professors and the older students sitting at their tables, staring at the first years. Before he has a chance to worry any more about the test, the Sorting Hat is placed before them. and sings a song to them about how they're going to be placed in their houses. As Harry waits for his turn to put on the sorting hat, he begins to worry about what if the hat doesn't choose for him, or what if it's all some big mistake and he has to get back on the train and go back to the Dursleys. Ah! And then, relief. The hat chooses for him to go to Gryffindor and not Slytherin as he had feared. Just as Harry is beginning to feel comfortable and relaxed, he notices Professor Snape staring at him, and when he looks into Professor Snape's eyes, he gets a pain through his scar. What's that all about? And now Harry is here. He's a new student on the campus. I think many of us have had an opportunity to be new someplace and to experience all those emotions. But in addition, Harry's famous. Everybody knows who he is. So he's going around trying to find his classes and to figure out the staircases and how to get in each of the different doors. And he's being watched. People know who he is. I think that would make me a bit self-conscious. How about you? And in his class with Professor Snape, it becomes even more obvious that Professor Snape really doesn't like him. Harry tries to talk to Hagrid about this to understand it better, and Hagrid says not to worry about it, that Snape hardly likes any of his students. And yet, Hagrid doesn't meet Harry's eyes and then changes the subject to something else. So what is this relationship with Professor Snape? I'm really curious to find out where this goes. So this is the beginning of Harry's emotional roller coaster in the wizarding world. I don't expect it to come to an end anytime too soon. That's all I have to say today. I hope you'll stay tuned the rest of the week to hear what everyone else has to say on a daily dose of Harry Potter. I hope you'll join me again next Monday. Bye!